Hey there, welcome to Talking Texas Politics with Calvin. Hope everybody's having a great day out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the craziness and the soap opera that is the Texas House Speaker's race. Seems to just get crazier and crazier, just so everybody's kind of caught up. On December 7th, there was a caucus vote for the Republican candidates, and out of the caucus vote, David Cook came out as the victor. And then a few minutes after the caucus vote, Dustin Burrows had a press conference and declared himself the winner. And I quote, he said, "The speaker's race is over." And so that is the same thing that his predecessors have done. I think that started with Dennis Bonnen. And then Dade Phelan did the same thing, said the speaker's vote is over. Now, since then, a number of people that he has listed as supporters have backed out. So now there's actually a player to be named later, which right now is Ryan Guillen, who was the longtime Democrat turned Republican before the last session, and also was rewarded with some pretty high profile committee assignments last session, and he was a chairman. So the vote's coming up on January 14th. I hope that everyone can join me at the Capitol, and we're going to see how this craziness turns out. This may be one of those things that you might wish you were there for. So don't miss that if you can make it down there. And also, reach out to your state representative and let them know what your thoughts are on this. So I met David Cook probably a little over 10 years ago when he was the mayor of Mansfield. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I was not impressed with him then, and I'm not impressed with him now. And I'm not impressed with the way that he became a state representative. Bill Zedler was the longtime state representative in that district. He withdrew at the last minute, and the only person who ended up running for his seat was David Cook. Had he had announced that he wasn't running, then David would have had a number of candidates running against him and very likely would not have won. He wouldn't be a state representative today. So don't like that. I think that was another backroom deal. And then also, David Cook's voting record is less than stellar, to be honest with you. He's not conservative at all, and he's not grassroots at all. So, having said all of that, we have essentially, as we know it right now, David Cook versus Dustin Burrows or Guillen or whoever player to be named later will be. And the player to be named later is going to be part of the Austin Swamp. And they're going to be part of the Austin elites. Dustin Burrows is known. He has been the henchman for the last four speakers. He has been the chair of the calendars committee. He has been the henchman. He was notoriously part of the Dennis Bonnen quid pro quo with Michael Quinn Sullivan, and a couple of sessions ago that ultimately led to Bonnen getting booted out of the Texas House. Now he's become a high-end lobbyist down there. So that is what Dustin Burrows represents. Dustin Burrows represents the sleazy swamp, the backroom deals, everything that you don't like about politics in general. That's what you see. He is the politician on the House of Cards, the series on Netflix. He is that type of person. And so the last thing we need is to continue to promote people that are that bad. So while I'm not impressed with David Cook, I think David Cook is a better candidate than Dustin Burrows. And I say that because David Cook has actually agreed to a lot of reforms to the speaker's position, and has agreed to provide some of the power back to the representatives versus having like a kingdom that the current Texas speaker has, where they control pretty much everything that happens in the Texas House. And so he's agreed to do that. He's agreed to let conservative legislation make its way to the floor, which has been stopped in the past. So, based on the candidates that we have, I think David Cook is probably the best conservative option, although he is not a conservative candidate by any means. So, I talked to our good friend David Spiller. I went to see him speak a couple of weeks ago, and he is still continuing to say that he's going to support David Cook for Speaker. He acted as though he was always going to support David Cook. I don't know that I fully believe that. But he did support him in the caucus vote, and he has come out publicly and said that he was going to support him. So, one thing that he did say, which I thought was a little arrogant, was that he basically took credit for Dade Phelan not running for Speaker. He pointed out that he came out publicly on a Monday, I think he said, and on Wednesday, Dade Phelan dropped out. So he essentially took credit for Dade Phelan dropping out of the Texas House Speaker's race. So I thought that's a little arrogant. But he was gloating. He was crowing like the rooster. But also keep in mind that he didn't come out publicly and say that until after I announced that I was considering running against him in the 2026 primary. So hopefully he will continue. David Spiller will continue to make a turn to the right, and he will continue to carry conservative legislation, and he will continue to do the right thing. So that's my thoughts on the Texas House Speaker's race. So thank you for joining me on Talking Texas Politics with Calvin, and God bless you, and God bless Texas.